The endless throng of supplicants continues to pass before you. Highborn petitioners, senior administratum officials with their trailing cherubs, magos of the mechanicum, servitors and servoskulls, representatives of the navigator houses, officers of the imperialis armada and the solar auxilia, patrols of black armoured Lucifer blacks and white-robed palatine sentinels. You even recall the seemingly endless entourage of one of the High Lords passing before you, with all the pomp and ceremony that came with it. Few take any interest in you. Some may stop and stare for a moment, others might bow their head in reverence or offer a brief martial salute, but most simply ignore you, either due to their fear of your abilities, authority and post-human nature, or simply because they've mistaken you for just another gilded statue decorating the palace, which you have heard is a surprisingly common occurrence. You recall exactly how long you've been stationed here in the Hall of Unity. 542 hours, 22 minutes and 14 seconds, or 22 days, just over 3 weeks, to use standard imperial measurements of time. In this time, you haven't moved, not an inch, not a millimeter. Perfect stillness, perfect form, posture and attention. Your guardian spear tucked neatly at your side, crimson crest and cape billowing softly behind you. Those brave enough to approach close enough might even notice the almost imperceptible film of dust that has somehow evaded the atmospheric scrubbers and collected on the surface of your otherwise gleaming auramite plate. This is quite standard, of course. You have been stationed for far longer periods, far closer to the heart of the palace where nothing would pass by you, where no beings except those of your custodian brethren would be permitted entry, and where you would stand silent in total stillness, in total darkness, for months or years at a time. In those depths, the silence is absolute, broken only by the rare, faint and distant rumble of the palace's ancient machinery, or the echoing boot scrape of another patrolling custodian. You have stood in those silent, darkened passages, your senses heightened beyond any mortal understanding, watching, waiting for the slightest change in air pressure, the faintest whisper of sound, or the smallest change in light, temperature, or smell. You have also dedicated yourself to blood games with durations exceeding a decade, spending weeks or months at a time stalking millimeter by millimeter through abandoned tunnels, vents, accessways and passages to find some small forgotten weakness in the palace's defences. Some method of entry not monitored by your order, or the incredible sensor arrays, monitoring stations and defence systems that ensure the sanctity of your master's palace. You have never succeeded in that mission, and you are pleased that that is the case. But still, you must remain vigilant. You must remain alert. You must remain ready. For the safety of the master of mankind, for the sanctity of the Golden Throne, for the continued survival of humanity, you cannot falter. Not for a moment. Your senses are honed to a razor's edge. You register the faint hum of a servo skull gliding somewhere amid the vaulted ceilings high above. The muttered whispers of a passing procession, the scratching of an autoquill as it inscribes the thoughts of its host somewhere down the hall, the clatter of metals against armour as an imperial officer strides past with his aide. You monitor, you analyse, you catalogue, you calculate, you dismiss. Days blur into weeks, weeks into months, yet your vigilance remains unbroken. You monitor, you analyse, you catalogue, you calculate, you dismiss. You are a custodian guard. You are his praetorian. You are an instrument of his will. Each breath you take is measured, each heartbeat counted, each rare eye blink timed and optimized. You monitor, you analyze, you catalogue, you calculate, you dismiss. You ignore the architectural beauty that surrounds you, the soaring columns, each 100 meters high, the walls carved from the finest marble and adorned with intricate reliefs depicting scenes from humanity's most glorious ages. The banners fluttering gently in the artificial wind high above, each paying eternal homage to one of the old 100. the rich crimson rug plush underfoot guiding the way for supplicants through the hall. You monitor, you analyze, you catalogue, you calculate, you dismiss. In an eye blink, your eyes dart across the corridor, scanning and committing to memory the faces, clothing, and postures of over a dozen passing individuals. Each detail is captured with flawless precision, from the subtle shift in a person's gait to the barely noticeable glint of holstered weaponry. You detect and analyze another custodian racing down the hall. Instinctively, you request an ident check to confirm his identity, posture, stature, and positioning. His speed doesn't concern you, for you know it is a necessary measure. A simple result of the sheer enormity of the Imperial Palace, where custodian patrols must be conducted at a running pace to cover the vast spaces efficiently. Blood surges to your muscles as your hand imperceptibly tightens around the haft of your spear. Instantly, you calculate his precise speed and your optimal avenue of interception, the number of mortals to be shoved aside or trampled, the weight and balance of his paragon blade, the exact pressure needed to pierce oromite plate, escape route, the distance to the nearest... The ident check returns clear. You loosen your grip, and your armor stabilizes the flow of your blood. In that nanosecond, every detail of the running custodian was scrutinized. The angle of his stride, the precise rhythm of his steps, the subtle shifts in his posture, the distinct patterns of his biometrics, and even the engravings upon his golden armor. Everything matched perfectly. His identity is confirmed, his patrol data seamlessly aligning with his assigned parameters. This is your duty. You will not falter. The Emperor's will guides you, fills you with purpose. You stand as a shield against the legions of darkness. Your resolve is unbreakable. You will not question, for doubt is the seed of chaos, and you are an instrument forged in truth and conviction. Your loyalty is absolute, your dedication eternal. You will not fail, for failure is not an option, it is an impossibility. For you are a custodian, for you are one of the 10,000, for your name is Soranus, Cathon, Icarus, Pollux, Antenor, Hylas, Eurypyles, Arethusa, Doriclus, Polites, Lothar, Eryx, Ascanius, Cythenius, Elatus, Wyrex, Hathor, Antimon, Tyrannus, Aristes, Raethor, Ecapolus, Ialeus, Orestes, Ulixes, Dardanus, Orintus, Epididymus, Nisus, Ganymede, Sumanus, Tiresias, Iamus, Laodocus, Lycomedes, Leander, Ippitus, Sarpedon, Telamon, Ergonus, Nellius, Ixion, Nereus, Glauco, Tallo, Orion, Tithonius, Hyprix, Ignatum, Stentor, Arates, Terminus, Evander, Faunus, Aeneas, Quirinius, Zagreus, Alecto, Silvanus, Cadmus, Priam, Lupicus, Hyacinth, Hyacinthus, Victorius, Honos, Egerius, Priapus, Glaucus, Mutinus, Telamon, Tarchon, Abbas, Caeculus, Cabis, Melampus, Carmentius, Mesenius, Aristes, Elonius, Pallas, Fabius, Tarquintus, Ampharius, Olus, Remus, Brutus, Mezentius, Attis, Ocnus, Palamon, Pandion, Antaeus, Imbrasus, Tatius, Lycus, Lycas, Ornatus, Asclepius, Polydeuces, Taumas, Phorpas, Periphas, Anchises, Rotus, Bellerophon, Cephalus, Antilochus, Perithus, Phlegias, Bias, Amicas, Telamont, Calchas, Euphemus, Talaus, Telepomus, Teristes, Alcemenius, Minos, Thrace, Aethon, Phineas, Dictys, Helios, Polyphontes, Perseus, Nereus, Pontus, Machaon, Peleus, Viridian, Zetes, Orpheus, Amulius, Lynceus, Thun, Menoetius, Exaltus, Victus, Thersander, Podace, Polydorus, Polyphemus, Thoas, Hippothus, Podalirius, Amphimachus, Protos, Philocites, Ajaxor, Menaceus, Euralius, Pisander, Pylades, Corabius, Melanthius, Ormenus, Clymenus, Amphion, Demophon, Diores, Diores, Alastor, Thrasymedes, Menalcas, Antimachus, Ennomus, Laugonus, Mesthles, Antiphus, Amphius, Adrastas, Amphidamas, Ephonius, Tusa, Epaeus, Elephanor, Acamas, Peneleos, Litus, Arcelaus, Arcelius, Ascalphius, Azepius, Delion, Mopsus, Thalpius, Polybus, Dolopes, Demelon, Hippasus, Hypsenor, Alcander, Asius, Sebronius, Polydomas, Agapenor, Ancilius, Eurythion, Eruthalion, Astonius, Aretus, Prothonior, Promachus, Diepyrus, Polypotes, Protesilaus, Protesilaus, Epistrophus, Scadius, Alcathus, Polyxenus, Teuthras, Pherocles, Phorcys, Odius, Thymbraeus, Melkon, Alcaeus, Ionis, Polymedon, Ophronius, Hippolochus, Dares, Automedon, Archelochus, Palomenes, Hicetaon, Hicetaon, what? Hicetaon, Melanopus, Adrestas, Eurymachus, Pistratus, Antiphates, Philaeus, Amphimonius, Achaeus, Medon, Etonius, Pentheus, Primatus, Maximus. The Custodians, the 10,000, the handcrafted sentinels of the Master of Mankind, are the unmatched defenders of the Imperium. Each Custodian is a marvel of bioengineering, born from the noblest Terran bloodlines and once sculpted with care by the Emperor's own hand. They are the Emperor's living instruments, his will made manifest. Where the Astartes are the sons of the Primarchs, the Custodians are often seen as more the Emperor's direct progeny, infused with his very own genetic essence. Their prowess in battle is unparalleled, their loyalty eternal, and their vigilance unceasing. They answer only to those who speak with the Emperor's voice and will dedicate themselves wholly to any task bestowed upon them. Whether it takes decades or centuries, a Custodian will see his mission through. Yet, to label the Custodians as mere soldiers, warriors, caretakers, or bodyguards is to misunderstand their true nature. To the trillions of mortals who call Terra home, Custodians very well might appear as 9-foot-tall demigods, imposing, gold-plated, and armed with the finest weapons mankind has ever forged. Beings created solely for war and violence. They might seem like golden statues, adorning the great halls and battlements of the Imperial Palace like gargoyles built into the architecture. All like simple, mindless, unflinchingly loyal, and ever-vigilant wardens. But such perceptions are deeply flawed. Yes, Custodians may appear outwardly martial, solemn, and committed in their eternal vigil. They will stand at their posts unmoving, unflinching, and utterly focused, ready to maintain their watch for months, years, or even decades at a time. And when they do in fact move, it is with purpose and precision. They perform their patrols at a fast running pace in order to cover the massive distances of the continent-wide palace, navigating through all its spaces, arterials, rooms, chambers, and passageways with faultless precision to ensure that no threat, however small, escapes their notice. They stand guard over the terrible things locked away in the dark cells beneath the Emperor's palace, eldritch terrors and devices from the depths of old night that could, if unleashed, wreak havoc upon the Imperium and unleash unspeakable horrors upon humanity. They protect servants of the Emperor who the doomscries of Terra deem directly relevant to the safety of the Golden Throne, shielding their charges from all harm until the exact moment their usefulness is deemed spent. They take command in sanctums, command centers, and monitoring stations, coordinating the efforts of the vast resources and manpower dedicated to their service. They oversee spaceports and landing pads, meticulously analyzing the flow of void ships to and from Terra. Every ship's name, cargo, emissions, and trajectory is scrutinized. Every Vox transmission, every manifest, every schedule, and every crew is monitored, analyzed, and cross-checked. And beyond Terra, they patrol the greater Sol system, for every world, moon, and void station within its bounds is an extension of their master's palace and must be protected and maintained accordingly. The Custodians watch. They listen. They monitor, they intercept, they eliminate, they control, they protect. They gather, filter, and analyze every scrap of information they can find. In 1,000 different ways from 1,000 different places, they defend him. Their dedication is absolute and their vigilance unmatched. But this was not their sole purpose. As the Custodian Valerian once said, we were his companions. We were the ones in whom he confided. We were his counselors, his artisans. We were the first glimpse of what the species could become if shepherded aright and unshackled from its vicious weaknesses. Of course we were taught to fight. He knew that war would come. It was a necessary part of the ascension, though it was never destined to last for eternity. We were the guardians of a new age and had to be strong enough to keep it secure. You see, the Custodians embody the Emperor's vision for humanity, not only as its protectors, but as the paragons of what humanity could aspire to be. Each Custodian is a philosopher, an artist, a scholar, and a warrior. Their minds are kept as sharp as their blades. In their service, Custodians engage in continuous learning, contributing to the preservation and advancement of human knowledge. When their duties allow, they debate over philosophy, reflect upon their purpose, their history, and what could have been. They create works of art and practice diplomacy to ensure their mental development and the continuation of their master's ideals. The Custodians do not consider themselves just soldiers and guardians, and so neither should we. In this way, they serve as the ultimate exemplars of the Emperor's ideals, a living testament to what humanity can achieve when it transcends its baser instincts. The Custodians are a beacon of hope and an embodiment of the Emperor's dream for a unified and enlightened human race. As Valerian aptly puts it, we have many duties, but that is just as it should be, For we are not simple creations. The eons have changed us in so many ways, but not in that. We were 1,000 things to 1,000 souls, but we were never soldiers. This context is crucial for understanding what a day in the life of an average custodian on Terra truly involves. But it also begs a few questions. Do custodians even have free time? How can they, when they might be stationed on duty for years or even decades at a stretch? When could they possibly explore the non-martial aspects of their existence when their lives are consumed by total dedication to their assignment? Surely, in the face of their absolute commitment and endless service, the idea of free time is totally alien to the custodians. Well, apparently not. Though they might be on active duty for decades, standing motionless as sentries or patrolling routes that span over 1,000 kilometers, there are moments, however rare, when custodians experience what could be described as downtime. Not free time. No, for true free action does not exist for them. Every aspect of the custodian existence is dedicated to service, whatever that may mean. But during such downtime, custodians do have the freedom to choose the manner in which they will further develop or improve themselves, their brothers, their situation, or their environment in service to the Emperor. This is their version of freedom. The freedom to refine their skills, expand their knowledge, or deepen their understanding of the many responsibilities that they shoulder. In the stillness of these rare moments, a custodian on Terra might spend a morning perfecting the martial katas within the Colossia Auris, an afternoon in philosophical debate on the appropriateness of violence as a tool in bringing about the Emperor's vision, and an evening of meditation in their chambers preceded by a session practicing their calligraphy in recounting the deeds of the fallen of their order. Though make no mistake, this downtime is not a break by any means. Rather, it is just a different form of service. It is a chance to develop the qualities that make them not just warriors, but the ultimate companions to the Master of Mankind. But we should also consider that when we speak of days, there are vastly different perspectives from the mortal viewpoint compared to that of the custodians. For us mortals, a day is precious. A day makes up 0.003% of our lifespan if we make it to 8 years of age. For a custodian, however, a day is merely a blink of an eye in their life of unrelenting service. One day for a custodian might involve crawling 1 meter through a maintenance shaft during a blood game. It might mean standing motionless atop a rampart, red lenses watching the skies for an enemy that may never come. It might mean orchestrating the defenses of the palace by coordinating 150 patrol routes and updating 90 security parameters. It could mean scanning 1,500 incoming cargo loads, verifying 7,000 identities, and physically inspecting 500 orbital batteries aimed at the void, prepared for a threat that might never materialize. From the moment they awaken, a custodian's existence is a finely tuned list of tasks that range from the mundane to the monumental. Each action, no matter how small or repetitive, is executed with the same meticulous care and absolute focus. For a custodian, there is no distinction between the significant and the trivial. Every duty, every assignment, every verification or analysis is equally vital to the protection of their master and the security of the Imperium. Their existence, defined by an unbreakable commitment to the Emperor's will, leaves no room for personal desires or hesitation. A custodian would execute a friend or ally in an instant if the Emperor required it, without any reluctance or doubt. For them, nothing comes before the Emperor, not love, not happiness, not justice, not revenge, not even their own lives. There are no victories or triumphs, only opportunities for deeper study. There are no endings or conclusions, only new opportunities for improvement and new questions to be answered. There is no rest, only new goals to be accomplished. Each success is nothing but an introduction to the next challenge, a stepping stone to deeper understanding and greater improvement. This devotion is the cornerstone of a custodian's existence, a fundamental aspect of their being that shapes every thought, every action, and every decision. In their eyes, the Emperor's will is the highest law, an unchallengeable directive that overrides all other considerations. This understanding brings about a singular truth. For a custodian, duty is not just a part of life. It is life itself. And that, to me, is terrifying. Anyway, thanks for watching. Dystopian Chimp, out.